Is artificial intelligence the next Hiroshima? What about the next bubonic plague? That killed maybe 200 million people. And yet, there are those who think AI could be worse, that it is so powerful, so dangerous, it could wipe out humanity altogether. Sounds like an exaggeration, doesn't it? Especially when you've got chatbots that hallucinate or self-driving cars that struggle in bad weather. But this is a statement from some of the top minds in AI made public yesterday. We're going to show it to you here. This is the whole thing, 22 words. Mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. That's it. That's the statement. As if to say, in brackets, underestimate AI and you will die. Look who signed it, though. Geoffrey Hinton and Joshua Bengio. So they've both been revered for their work developing neural networks.
Geoffrey Hinton, the sometimes called godfather of artificial intelligence, is trying to explain its risks to the world.
This is just something somebody sent me from Twitter.
Which means explaining something very real that can sound entirely made up.
Sam Altman is a signatory as well, the CEO of the company behind ChatGPT.
As this technology advances, we understand that people are anxious about how it could change the way we live. We are too.
And you've also got Demis Hassabis, CEO of Google's AI Research Lab.
And back in 2010, our mission statement, and still is today, used to be solve in step one, solve intelligence. Yeah. Step two, use it to solve everything else.
More than 350 industry leaders, academics, engineers have signed this statement, which, is itself striking because these are the people who presumably understand AI best, trying to warn the world of how dangerous it is. And they've done that repeatedly.
Elon Musk, along with co-founders of Apple, Skype, and Pinterest, and others, writing bluntly in an open letter, AI systems with human competitive intelligence can pose profound risks to society. They're urging developers to consider a 6-month pause in the enhancement of AI technology.
Now, you don't have to be a tech expert to be affected by the race of technology, and you don't have to be an expert or even have an interest in artificial intelligence to be affected by it going forward. So just like climate change, even if you're not a meteorologist, it's going to touch your life. AI is going to touch all of our lives.
My worst fears are that we, the field, the technology, the industry, cause significant harm to the world. I think if this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong.
Now, those who think AI represents an existential threat to humanity, they've got lots of ideas for how to mitigate that risk. A pause on development is one option. Government regulation and intervention is another. Licensing requirements for large AI developers, that's a thought. Even an international body, maybe the UN, that could somehow govern AI as a whole, become a kind of worldwide watchdog, like nuclear inspectors, but for artificial intelligence. And yet, for all of the ideas, not one has had meaningful follow-through. And I should say, this is all quite divisive to begin with. Check this tweet from a linguistics professor who spent years studying AI language models. We should be concerned by the real harms that corps and the people who make them up are doing in the name of AI, not about Skynet. Terminator reference there, right? So in the face of a technology that isn't just developing at breakneck speed, but that's also accelerating, who's listening to the warnings? Anand Ram, producer here at CBC News, has been doing a lot of listening. Hi, Anand. Thanks for joining us here.
Hey, no problem.
So can we start with this? Like how best to articulate the threat that these folks are talking about, and if we go beyond like Terminator, Skynet, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, because if you think about extinction, Terminator, Skynet, you can imagine how a killer robot might kill you.
We've seen it.
Yeah, absolutely, we've seen it, and we've envisioned it for decades. But on a more serious note, like when we're comparing it to a pandemic or nuclear war, there are very physical, real-life death tolls that we can associate. We're all too familiar with it by now. Thousands and thousands, millions of people have died around the world from COVID. And so that was one of the questions I wanted to ask Dan Hendricks, the director of the Center for AI Safety, the people who put this out. And he sketched out two sort of scenarios, how will AI lead to, this kind of extinction?
Yeah.
And one of the scenarios is very simple. People building a bad AI, right? It'll do malicious things, and then it'll be released onto the world into an unsuspecting public.
So one is the generic one, malicious use. Somebody could use it to develop a bioweapon, or somebody could develop an AI system and sort of release it and have it be rogue.
But the second scenario he laid out is the AI does what we want it to, but because it's so good at what it does and it's competing with other AIs, and we're going to put it in charge of more important things than writing our emails, that this sort of competition between AIs might just leave us all behind, in the sense that they won't care about the consequences to us. It'll just keep doing what it's doing really well, and continue to get better and make sure that it's better than the other one.
But the language of the statement is so stark, right? It's so harsh, and I guess intentionally so.
Very much so, and I think that the brevity of it was intentional too,
Right.
for very practical reasons, in that, well, the way that they put it is that scientists don't have a lot of policy opinions. In my talking
We've
to
seen
scientists,
otherwise.
we've seen
Yeah,
otherwise.
yeah.
But at the same time, getting them all to agree on perhaps a longer text would have defeated the purpose of getting the discussion going. So they kept it short, they kept it simple, and they kept it to 22 words.
But I guess I would say the opposing, maybe more critical viewpoint of all of this is that maybe this is tantamount to fear-mongering, right? That like, we can't even get AI to reliably drive a car, never mind delete humanity.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that experts I spoke to talked in terms of hyperbole. I got the sense of like kind of disappointment on the phone sometimes with some of these experts, in the sense that they're like, I really wouldn't have worded it like that. Because as one U of T expert I spoke to talked about, it's kind of like there are real pressing problems right now with AI that don't have solutions right now, and we're worried about something that might be far in the future, if it's in the future, if unchecked.
Pressing problems like what?
Like when we talk about AI, and we've talked about this problem for a while, you've mentioned on this program as well, is that it's got a bias problem. The idiom is garbage in, garbage out, in the sense that whatever we use to train AI is all built on the biases, stereotypes, and understandings that we don't even know we have. And we've trained the machine to think so, and then we absolve responsibility and think that the machine is right because it's neutral. And so that is playing out in the real world right now. When we talk about extinction, we talk about the existence of people, the livelihoods of people right now who are, in the words of this expert, like not getting credit cards or interacting with the justice system that's using AI to determine who to police, who to give bail to. These are real world effects that are happening right now that we don't have a regulatory solution to. And that's on top of two other issues, two other big ones: misinformation, as we've seen, as one of the things that I loved about the episode you did on AI was voice impersonation. That's real and terrifying, and that's here right now. And then beyond that, the job loss. Another expert I spoke to is that we're all worried about AI taking our jobs, but it's actually, that's not what he's worried about. Luke Stark at Western University, he's worried about the jobs getting worse. The idea that we will pass along responsibilities, and that the only things that we would need us for is to handle the back end sort of like hard work that gets outsourced a lot to the global south, and then essentially transfer the shift of power to bosses and people who are at the very, very top.
So I think my concern about all sorts of AI systems, including ChatGPT, is not that they are going to make work obsolete, but that they're going to shift the power balance in favor of bosses, right? It's going to shift them away from workers.
So let me finish with this, Anand. Are the right kinds of people listening to all of these concerns and warnings? Not just the immediate stuff that you mentioned, but also kind of the big picture existential threat to humanity kind of stuff. Like, are they listening? Are they actually prepared to act?
I think that the right, this is the whole hope, right? The hope is that the discussion can start, but the experts I spoke to just want to ensure that we cannot leave this in the hands of the companies who are doing the making the AIs themselves, because they cannot self-regulate, and that the people who they are directly affecting, that I mentioned, who are adversely affected by AI right now, they need to be the ones at the table as well in crafting AI policy, along with governments, along with, and to come up with a shared set of understanding before we release these tools, before they get too far, before they get to the point where we saw with the social media boom that it's too late to do something about it.
Anand Ram, so good to talk to you. Thank you so much.
No problem.